Andrew. I did two bads.
Rookie.
I did two
Oh my
bads.
gosh.
Okay.
Rookie.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Free Project Friday with the Foundry Virtual Tabletop team. I got beaten by the mute button at the first hurdle, defeated before we even started. No, thank you all very much for joining. Really excited to do this as a collective team activity this month. We usually do Free Project Friday as a sort of internal only activity for our team to prototype and develop new features, where basically the rules for Free Project Friday is that we can all work on whatever we want to without any restrictions based on our regular prioritization. And so it's always an opportunity for us to work on some things that normally might not be able to get prioritized, or things that have been like bugging us for a while, or things we've wanted to work on for a while and just haven't had the opportunity to do it. And so it's always a really fun thing. We do it as a team once a month, and we don't usually share it publicly because, it's about hacking around and coming up with with certain, new ideas or risky ideas that might or might not work. But this time, as part of our anniversary celebration, we were going to do this last week, and then several of us on the team got sick, and so we postponed it to this Friday. But this time around, we wanted to share it with the community and give you all a look into sort of what that process looks like and the kinds of cool things that come out of it. So thank you all very much for joining us in chat. I'm thrilled that you're all here. I hope you'll see some stuff that you find interesting. And without further ado, I think we can go ahead and jump into it. But I was thinking, it's been a little while since we've done kind of a team stream we've probably never done a stream with this many people on it from the team. And so I was thinking it would make sense to do a quick go around and let everybody on the stream introduce themselves, since there may be folks in the community who don't know who you are or what you do. I think that'd be a great place to start before we jump into projects individually. So I'll start. My name's Andrew. I'm the creator of Foundry VTT. You probably know me from other streams that we've been doing, but really thrilled to be here with a lot of the rest of the team. Not all of the rest of the team, but a lot of it. And so I'll pass it over to you, Roman.
Yeah, my name is Roman. I've been here the whole time. I am a game writer. I manage the knowledge base. I do some of the art and stuff you guys see in Foundry and on the website. I've been doing a lot of stuff with the team in a lot of different places. You've probably interacted with my stuff. Not my first time here on the stream. Long time watcher though.
Awesome, thanks, Roman.
Thanks for joining us, Roman.
Vivian.
Hello, you probably know me as Cora. I've done a few streams here. I work in our content development, mostly on our Pathfinder products, but also a little bit on our other stuff too. And so I've streamed some games of Abomination Vaults and Pathfinder Beginner Box. But yeah, you usually don't have this many of us on here, so it's quite exciting.
Yeah, very cool. Cody.
Well, you probably don't recognize me due to the lack of a bus, but I'm Cody. I'm one of the core developers. I interface a lot with the development community and make meme modules like 1001 Fish.
Thank you very much, Cody. Drew.
Hello, I am Drew. I am one of the newer members. I think I was back at the first of the year. I'm an artist, so I'm helping out with all sorts of art stuff. I mostly focus on environmental illustrations, which you'll see a little bit of today. Yeah, hello.
Exciting, awesome. Eber.
Hello, I'm Eberhard. I'm the newest addition to the dev team. You probably know me as Dev7355608. Yeah, I'm mostly, if you have a module of mine, you probably have Perfect Vision or advanced drawing tools. I hope I can improve the core software. Already fixed a lot of bugs, and there are more bugs to fix, and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been really exciting having you as part of the team already. You've been super productive in such a short time. It's really very cool. Kim.
Hello, yeah, I'm Kim. I'm one of the core software devs for Foundry. I've been on these streams before. I also do a fair bit of work on the D&D 5e system, and I field a lot of developer queries on Discord as well.
Excellent. Matt.
My name's Matt. You might recognize me from the Encounter Library YouTube channel. And I also work with Foundry on doing premium content work, working with publishers and stuff like that. Also responding to an awful lot of support emails. So hit me up.
Thank you very much, Matt. And last but certainly not least, Ludovic.
Hello, my name is Ludovic. You know me under the alias Secret Fire. I'm one of the core developer and specialized in visuals and graphics with Ever now. And it's always a pleasure to participate in a Free Projects Friday.
Awesome. Excellent. Thanks very much, Ludovic. When we get to your Free Project Friday, you might want to boost your mic output just a little bit. I think you're a little bit quieter than everyone else, but hopefully everybody got that introduction. And so, yeah, this is most of the team, not all of the team. We actually have a number of team members who aren't here at the moment, but some of them are in chat. So Nath, who you know is feeling a little under the weather today, but here with us to support in chat. He did do a Free Project Friday project, so we'll show that on his behalf. Ali, our website dev, I believe is also floating around in chat. And then we've got a couple other folks that are working on some content projects that aren't here with us today. But this is a big chunk of the team, and so it's really cool to have everybody together for a stream like this. So without further ado, I think we should go ahead and jump into our first demo. Roman, why don't you explain a little bit of what folks are going to see while I switch around some scenes on my end to show it.
All right, sounds good. So for a little bit of context, when House Divided was being worked on, we wanted to provide a little town where the party could meet with some new NPCs, learn about the setting a little bit, get some last supplies before heading into the Raventree estate. I created just a simple little sketch of a town called Ferncomb, and it ended up having to get cut for time. We didn't have the window to work on it. But Nath and I were charmed by Ferncomb really badly. We loved the town. We had some fun little NPCs, and we really wanted it to be released. So Ferncomb is not a new arrival in Free Project Friday. We've done this, I think, twice now. We tried to get it done and out the door, and it just didn't work out. We didn't have the time. But this last Friday anniversary, we had a little extra time to work on it, and Cody proposed, pulling in some of our other team and really giving it a good go to get it out. So myself, Vivian, Cody, and Drew as our art, we came up with a background. We finished up the journals. We got some really great portrait art, which I think Andrew will be looking at now. He'll be poking through the journals.
Yeah, just tell me what you'd like me to pull up on my end. Where should I start?
You know what? Show them the character journal. I want to show off the portraits. There are 9 major characters in Ferncomb, and each of them got a little handmade portrait that, frankly, I love. They're all fantastic. Yeah, and each journal has got a pretty in-depth breakdown of the NPC. Their telltales, their background, their personality, their connections to House Divided, because ultimately this is still a House Divided supplement. But Vivian and Cody wanted it to be system agnostic, so we made sure that it kind of can function for any game world. And there's also, if you open up locations, Andrew, there's a breakdown of the town with all of the locations, the services they provide, the history of the location. Jesus, Nath. Yes, Drew the art. Very, very nice. 10 out of 10. The man's got a fever, by the way. This explains why he's like it.
He's delirious.
Yeah, so he is completely delirious, detached from reality. So all of these journals got polished and styled up by Cody and Vivian. We got art. We have a fantastic scene background. for just sort of visiting the town. And all of this is available for free for anyone who wants to go grab it. Cody released it just before the stream started.
Oh, wow. All right. There you go.
So yeah, this is it's completely system agnostic. It works for any game system. So if you just want a quaint little town with some quirky little characters, it's out. I believe it is only V11 right now.
Right.
And it probably will only be V11.
Yeah, I don't think we're going
That's
to
my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is good if you're running House Divided. There are connections. Like if you go to the very top, the town of Ferncomb, Andrew,
Yeah.
you show off. There's a secret section that actually indicates how it's connected to House Divided. And these appear throughout the NPCs and other locations. So if there's something that you do in a quest in House Divided that affects the location, there's a note about it. If there's a character that's connected, there's a note about it.
That's super cool.
So yeah, it's a nice little bit of supplementary content. And then, you know, also if you just want a cute town for, you know, your Pathfinder game, your 13th Age game, whatever, Ferncomb will do the trick. It's also chock full of kobolds. So if you like kobolds, this is your town.
So this was you and Drew and Cody and Vivian?
Yes.
Nath
But Nath also helped with a good portion of the writing as well. So writing credit is me and Nath, and then all of the polish and the art, and making it look good and be usable, that was Cody and Vivian and Drew. And Matt also helped a little bit too. He's got his fingerprints in there.
Very
Of
cool.
course, the original CSS was based on House Divided, so that's work by Andrew and Nath as well.
There you go. Yeah, so there we go. Everyone's got some fingerprints on this.
It's got a lot of people have worked on it over time. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a cute little town.
Yeah, very
My
cute.
players in my House Divided game love it. It's super charming. The characters are super quirky.
Now I've got a question. I know you and Nath always like to throw in as many hidden pop culture references and some not so hidden pop culture references. Are
Not
there
so
any
hidden.
of those that we can enjoy in Ferncomb?
Let's see. There's a book reference. There's a movie reference. There's a video game reference. I'm not going to tell you where they are.
Okay.
This one is a little bit lighter on pop culture references than like House Divided or Demon Queen is. Nath and I definitely snuck a lot more in those modules, but there's a little bit here and there.
We'll see if anybody can find all of them.
Yeah, awesome. Collect all Roman's Easter eggs. Drew, do you have anything that you'd like to share about this project? Beyond
Was that me?
Yeah, that's you.
Sorry, the audio clipped out just then. I was like, was that my name or somebody else's? Yeah, no, this was kind of fun. Cody just sent me a message. He's like, hey, we're going to be resurrecting this, you know, old Free Project Friday, and, you know, we never had any art for it. Do you want to do some art? And I was like, yes. So, yeah, I don't draw characters all the time in my day-to-day, so this was a fun, like, I got to do 9 characters and this little kind of impressionistic background painting of the town itself, which was kind of fun to just, like, kind of on a short deadline, just like, let's just make something cool. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun to work on.
Awesome. Love it. Which ended up being your favorite character?
That's hard. Honestly, what's his the dad and the son, the Thomas.
The Franklins.
Thomas
The Franklins, yeah.
Franklin.
He looks very severe.
Oh yeah, I was like, I actually used the same base face for both of them, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this man, you know, really austere and, you know, kind of severe and, you know, proper, and then his son is the kind of like not the same way, but they do have the same base face structure.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a fun little Easter egg thing to do.
Very nice. All right, fantastic. Well, thank you all very much for making that and for sharing it as part of Free Project Friday. This is very, very cool stuff. So I think we'll move on to our next demo. I think I will take the next one on behalf of Nath, who did some work on our new setup menu. So I'll just keep this view the same, and I'll switch over to this one. So unfortunately, Shane couldn't be here on stream today just because of feeling under the weather, but what Shane worked on for Free Project Friday was continuing to add a couple of different theme options for the setup area of our application. And so what Nath did was, as many of you know from seeing our V11 stream so far or from checking out V11 yourself, is we have on the setup menu, we have choices of themes that you can choose from. And in addition to the classic fantasy and science fiction themes that we had previously, Nath has added a light mode theme that honestly doesn't suck, which is pretty cool. And
The greatest honor a light mode theme can be given.
Yeah, so we have a light mode theme that is a little lighter on the eyes, as you would expect, and it works with all of the different views of like how you might display the sort of tiled modules, or in list view or in gallery view, yeah, so it's a theme option. And one of the other things with theme options that I can show is that it used to be due to a bug that these themes would only apply to the setup area. Oh, actually, that's because I'm on Nath's branch of the code, and he doesn't have the V11 fixes. Should we try and do a quick rebase live on stream?
Rebase live on stream.
Let's.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Live rebasing.
Let's see if we have any conflicts. No, successfully rebased. Let's try compiling that, and if that works, then what I'll do next is we'll try and no, that didn't do what I expected it to do. Well,
Did you npm install and gulp compile?
I did gulp. Yes, I did gulp. Let's see. Now I'm expecting for this to give me light mode on the login screen, but it's not doing that. So, oh well. Anyways, we'll look into it. I maybe didn't do the correct rebase. But this new light mode theme is, I don't know exactly when it will be available as part of the V11 core. We do have I didn't let people know this yet, but we are working on a patch update for hopefully today that we'll expect to be getting out, that fixes a number of little bugs and just further enhances stability of our new stable V11. And so that will be coming out shortly, later this afternoon, hopefully after the stream. Yeah, so actually, I bet I know what it is. I bet those changes that I pulled require me to restart the server. That's probably it. Yep, that's it. That's the one.
You try turning it off and on again?
I have to turn it off and turn it back on. And then when I do that, I get the light mode theme on the login screen as well. So there we go. I've redeemed myself partially. So that's Nath's free project Friday, and I think we have to touch up a little bit. Like there's probably some form input interactions and things that still need to be made to work. Like these lock icons and stuff are a little bit dark and things like that.
As a proof of concept, though, I really like it.
Yeah.
And it's got some custom art in the background, which Nath wanted us to specify was created by a very talented artist who drew it. Haha.
I'll have to just delete the interface so that the background.
Yeah,
is
just
look
at that.
Delete the.
Now that's minimal Foundry.
Minimal Foundry. We'll just delete code until there's
nothing. When are we
going
to have this interface?
This is the UI that people are craving.
Wait, this is really good, actually.
Yeah.
It presents
you can't even launch your game.
warning.
We fixed all bugs.
There's no more bugs because all the bugs are gone. Just beautiful artwork. Well, it's all that remains.
This is how you play Theater of the Mind, right?
That's the idea.
Yes,
that's the idea.
You have to do key combinations, right? Like Control Alt W to launch the first world and stuff.
It's all elaborate keyboard shortcuts. Yeah. Some people would be really into that, I think.
Linux users would be really into
Some people would be really into that.
The Elden Rings of VTTs.
All right. Well, that is Shane's, Nath's free project Friday demo that I've poorly presented on his behalf. So from there, I think we can move on next to maybe Ludovic, since I have your world link.
Yeah.
You ready to go next?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Secret Fire is going to go next. I'm going to log into his world. I have no idea what I'm about to find. I have no idea what awaits me. We'll just give it a second to load. Okay, I see a map. I see heroes and a dragon. This looks like a very
Yeah.
tense situation. What should I be looking at here?
It's a very tense situation because it is about textures and token textures in particular. So, presently now when we are loading a new texture on the token, we are redrawing the token. And so I think that maybe we should improve that and have a nice transition when you change the texture of a token. So, for example,
I'm nervous.
if I'm going here to Kilat, I have prepared my macro.
Whoa.
Oh,
Do it again.
here it is.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's
So
sick.
That's really cool.
there is no more redrawing of the token. This is an animation which is handled by our API, and there is a transition between the previous texture and the new texture. So it is working also if you are just changing the texture into the token configuration. For example, here I have a mass page ranger bow WebP. I can choose Rogue Halfling, update token. And as you can see, we have a smooth transition. So I'm going to put again ranger bow, update the token, and here we are. So, of course,
So it looked like when you did it through the token config, it's sort of like just a gentle sort of like almost like crossfade. But what you did before was sort of like a special effect. So how does that work?
Yes. So when you are updating a token with a new texture, you can add options. So you have a transition duration. You can work on the time the transition is going to take, and you have a transition type. So transition type, there is 9 transition type.
9.
One, the classic, the fade, as you have seen when you are changing a texture into the config, and others. For example, let's see with Mortos. Who is really Mortos? Haha. We will see.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
He's a
my
demon.
word.
Mortos! Mortos is a Balrog, and he will take its form again.
That's so amazing. I love it.
Here it is.
I love it.
So I can show you the macro, which is quite simple.
It's really funny because I could have used this in
Should
my,
I pull up the
my
macro
demo.
on my screen, Ludovic?
Yeah.
The one
this
for
is
Morthos?
from Mortos.
Yeah, okay.
So we are reusing we have not a new database. There is nothing new into the database. We are just reusing the texture, and we are identifying the texture into the mesh. You know, the mesh which is under the document, and we know if we need to make a transition or not. And with this macro, I'm just using switching with the texture of the sorcerer tiefling, for example, and the balor.
Yeah.
So you see, we have options after the update, and here we are setting the transition duration to 3 seconds and the transition tip to 2, which is swirl. But we have a lot of other transition type. I can show you, for example, with Zana.
Okay.
So Zana, it is a kind
Boo.
of drop.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, yeah. People
And
are
here,
gonna just go nuts for this, Ludovic. This is killer stuff.
This is so cool.
yeah, so we have a bunch of effects. For example, for out, I'm using a morph.
Oh, I wasn't looking at AOF
Oh.
at the moment. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah. So we have a kind
Ooh.
of animation of the pixels, and I can show you because this is not always for fantasy. We have like TV noise and things like that. I will change in direct. Okay, so on out always.
Okay.
I have changed.
Oh, weird. Yeah, it's like an old sort of monitor effect or something. It's
Yeah,
like a screen wipe.
a screen wipe.
Like a
And
hologram or something. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Yes, we have an hologram. Hologram. This is the 9. I'm changing it. Here it is.
That's excellent.
So cool.
And let me show the TV noise because I love the TV noise. Up. No, it is not TV noise. It is another effect, a wave V. What is the TV noise? The TV noise is the effect 5.
We should call it TV noise, though. Like, we should make sure that that's a function.
Ready for TV noise?
Ah, yes.
No, this is not a TV noise.
It was some sort of noise. It was like a crosshatch.
It looks like
Yes.
noise.
Okay, it will be later. Oh. Where is this TV noise?
Where did the TV
You made-
noise go?
You made too many effects.
You made too many animations.
And if
Yeah,
anyone's
maybe.
wondering, this is always what our free project Fridays are like. We do cool stuff, and then Ludovic and Andrew show up and go, "You guys, amateur hour, come on."
So let's got a huge. Yeah.
Ah. Yeah, it looks really great.
So here it is, and so this is handled by the framework. This is non-blocking because now with Pixie we can load texture into a worker. So this is all handled by the transition, and for users and for module and system developers, you can use this. You will be able to use this framework, I hope, to do some nice effect, nice transition, polymorph effect into some systems. And I will work also on teleportation, ability to move a token from position A to position B with special effects.
One thing that might
Very
be
nice.
one thing that might be a really interesting extension of this, given that the shader already exists, there's another application of this could be, instead of switching from texture A to texture B, we're just on texture A, but we're switching from hidden to non-hidden, and we could probably use the same shader to, like, if the prior state is hidden, we could just treat the initial texture as like a blank texture. And you could maybe have this as sort of like a special, it becomes almost like a special fade-in effect or something in a way.
Yes, it is possible. If you are using it's a bit technique, but if we are using a null texture, then it will fade into like a transparent texture.
Mm-hmm.
So we could use animation for that, yeah, also.
Could be an interesting way to like bring in a new combatant that was like previously invisible or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, that's a big cat.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a Dark Souls cat. There's always like the giant wolf or the giant,
The sword in its mouth.
yeah.
Always.
All right, awesome, amazing stuff, Ludovic. This is really incredible. I'm blown away, and I think chat is too. You've impressed us all with this one. All right, I will switch back to the overall main camera's view for the team. Who would like to have to follow that?
Ooh. Mine requires a different camera setup, but I'm happy to do it.
Okay, well, go ahead, Cody. Why don't you go ahead and show yours off next?
All right. So I think there's both a screen share portion of this and there's a camera portion. Well, let's do the screen share portion first. So this is the product of like 3 Free Project Fridays in a row, so this has some more time in the oven. But we have been working with a company called Go Dice. They make Bluetooth dice. They're actually D6s, and then you can put shells on them to turn them into like D20s, D4s, things like that. So we've been working with them in order to integrate that into Foundry. So what we have is if I open my dice configuration, you can see I've picked a Go Dice as my Bluetooth dice, and I've configured some D4s, D6s, D10s, as a couple different Bluetooth dice. Some are filled by Foundry because I don't own, or I don't have a D10 set up. Some are, I can do manual rolls as well. But if we go ahead and go to our Arcane Strike from our Arcane Wraith here and roll, we can see the formula is D20 plus 4 plus 3. So it's going to pop open a window. We have Go Dice's blue to help indicate. I'm going to grab my dice. I'm going to roll it. And I got a 3. And there we can see 3 plus 4 plus 3. So we got our 10. If I have like advantage, I can roll 2 dice at once because I own more than one.
Oh, that's so cool.
If I roll my damage, it's 3d8 plus 4, but these I configured to be manual, so I could roll like my physical manual dice and plug in the results. And of course, rogues, you always have like a lot of sneak attack damage. So if I go ahead and pop that up, we have a lot of d6s. So I'm gonna get them out in my case here real quick. So I only have 3, so I'm gonna roll 3 at a time, and then grab my 3 again, and then roll them, and I can quickly get through all, and it submits, and now there's all my sneak attack damage. So yeah, I saw a question in chat. Yes, you can roll 1 dice at a time. It connects via a phone app that Go Dice has been developing. So let's swap to camera view, and I'll show the physical portion of it. But I'll be going through that same click stuff. So hello. So this is the app. You can see I have all of. Oh gosh, this is gonna be a little hard. I have all of the dice and their like battery status and face on here. And now if I go down to my desk. All right, So here are all of my dice. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll that sneak attack damage again. And we flash the dice that you need to roll, and then you grab them and roll them, and it shows back up in Foundry. If I go ahead and close that and roll, say, 2d20, there's my d20, so I'm going to grab those and roll them. And each of these d20s is that same d6 wrapped in a shell.
Mm-hmm.
This is the actual Bluetooth dice. And there's prongs on the 5. So if I grab the charger from the carrying case. I can plug it in, and they charge in about 10 seconds. And they last for about 2 hours. And then I just plug it back in, and then it's in the app. I choose like, oh, this one's now a D20, and it recalculates the position of the dice, and then I can keep rolling and going. Yeah, that's the integration. They also have a dice carrying case that like snaps onto the charger, so you can bring them with you. They have been kind enough to this should be here we go. This should be launching in the next week or two. They gotta get the APK out and such, so it might take a little bit more time. But we can go back to screen share. They have been kind enough to give a discount code if people want to order them now. It gives you a couple dollars off the devices. Where's my link of these? And unlike other providers, these can be ordered now. They show up at your door in a couple of days, and then you can start rolling them. I have two products here. One is like just a connected D20. It's a single D20. It's a slightly nicer shell. And the other is that case of 6, with all the shells around it. Only caveat is, again, it's a D6 wrapped by shells, so your D4 isn't going to be your traditional D4 shape. It's going to look a lot like a D20, and that's why we flash it through the mobile app so you can see which one you actually need to grab.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Does it do anything like can it do things like flash like on like a critical hit or something, or is that something that
it can? That's something we could add. Yes. A lot of systems have different rules, so I'm demoing in 5e just because it's popular and it has advantage mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
But this should work in most systems, and with a little bit of code in each system about what is a crit or not, we can flash the dice different colors. There's RGBs in there. They don't make sound effects, but
Yeah, and do you want to, maybe one thing that would be really cool to show, I don't know if you have DSN installed, but like one of the super cool things is that like for other players that are connected to the game, like they still get to see the results of like what you rolled. So like even if you're rolling in person, other players will still see like what you rolled both in the chat log and with visualization, right?
Yep. And you can also see we dump a message to chat that they're currently rolling, so they're doing something. But that 5 comes across, and there we go on screen. Everyone will see the roll as well. We have connected them with Dice So Nice to see if they want to do like a custom skin in Dice So Nice to match the Go dice. But I think they're currently planning on updating the visual look of their dice, so I think they're going to do that first and then talk to them about it. And yeah, all this was powered by the Async Dice API change that we made, 2 versions back?
Yeah.
So
it's still lingering, but it's showing its power now.
Yeah, and it's really cool because this means that you can benefit from any system automation that your system might have. So if you're playing a system like Crucible, which has a lot of automated interactions, then you don't need to worry about, I have to mentally add it up and what's the outcome and can I intercept the automation? Like it will just go from the moment because the dice come in before the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people asking about... Sorry, go ahead, Cody. This is your thing.
Yeah, it took a little bit of code about making sure it hooked in with the system as well. But you can see, this was our Arcane Strike damage force roll. It still has all the automation D&D has. Nothing about it changed.
It's almost sort of like a middleware between the chat message creation and the rest of the system mechanics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Very cool stuff.
Do you need a module for this right now?
Yes, you do need a module for it. We plan on there are actually 2 modules. One half is upgrading Foundry even further to understand how to fulfill dice. And we already had async dice, but being able to configure which terms come from which source was something we had to add. We hope to add that in V12 or beyond as a core feature. And then you'll always need the Go Dice module, which talks to the phone. And the reason, and there is web Bluetooth, but it's only supported in Chrome and not in Firefox and not in the Electron app. And phone Bluetooth is just more reliable anyway. So there is a small amount of configuration you have to do where you have to plug in the URL to your phone, which they display on the app, and then it starts talking back and forth via WebSocket. Andrew, you had a question, I believe?
I don't think so. I think it was just something about, like, there was a question in chat about, does this work with X system? And my thinking was that since it's basically like a extra middleware in the chat message creation process, that it in theory should, because like whenever a message is being created that contains roles, but like what amount of work was needed to kind of make it work with D&D, and then like what would be needed for other systems to kind of have this sort of support as well?
Yeah, it should work for any system that uses out-of-the-box rolling. It should just work. Just work, TM. For D&D, because D&D customizes the dice terms, there's a damage like roll, there's other things. I kind of had to get clever about shoving it in the middle chain. But so there's a small amount of code to shove it in the right spot. But again, that's all things we hope to fix for like V12 and beyond. So you don't need system-specific code unless you're doing like crit detection and such for flashing the dice. Does it explode dice automatically, or you roll for each explosion? Currently, like, actually, let's see. What's the explode syntax?
X.
So if I roll, I don't think it explodes automatically right now.
Yeah, that's tricky because it needs to like expand the set of dice that need to be rolled. But it did look like the extra exploded dice was rolled automatically by Foundry, if not by Go Dice.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's not broken.
Yeah, it's not broken, but yeah, we can make that slightly better. And someone asked, are these fair? I believe I saw on their site that they're within the normal like amount of fairness that you would expect. Because again, the D6s are the actual Bluetooth, and I think they've carefully balanced it to be in the center. But, mileage might vary. Like
There is more variation than a lot of people realize in physical dice. Like they aren't that. I mean, they don't have to be that random for our use case as a game, and so sometimes I think people take it a bit too far with trying to reach like infinite percentiles of variance.
And of course, some people might be like, oh, like, can people, fudge the dice? I mean, people can already fudge the dice, right? If you were already playing and people are rolling at their table and reporting in numbers, like, whatever. You gotta trust your players.
But there are a lot of uses for this outside of just playing remotely. Like, if you play in person, this is really, really cool. Because you could have Foundry up on a big screen that just the GM is using, but the players still get to roll their own dice. And I've seen people use really crazy setups where they have like a shared dice tray with a camera and like an image recognition. And this could be expanded to work with that as well. I mean, it's all building off the same core API. So.
I'm very excited to use this for in-person stuff, especially if you have like a TV setup or something, or a game board, because these are plastic shells. Like, they're not as weighty as metal, but I have no fear this is going to damage a screen or something, if I roll it. And this should be available in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even 1 week. It depends how long it takes for the app to get approved and final testing and such. They're going to give it one more pass of like making the app in Foundry look nice, but it should be ready soon.
That's really, really cool. Awesome stuff, Cody. I have a pair of Go Dice as well, but I think I want to get a couple more so that I can deal with like larger dice rolls, and I might want to get like 3d8s for no particular reason.
I wonder why.
I might have to ask them if they, if I can help on the module. Maybe they'll send me some for free.
Just be like, actually, I'm suddenly a developer.
Cody really needed my assistance on the content development. Like
if I
we
get
really
a pound
needed.
of D6s.
If you get any CSS issues, like send them to me. I'll fix them. Get my name in there.
I will say, like, they last a long time. I charged these before, like half an hour before the stream. They're still, half of them are at like 90, a
Yeah.
bunch are, 50. But the initial, if you have a lot of dice, the initial pulling apart, charging them, even at 10 seconds a pop, is a little like annoying. But you should only have to do that once for your session. Maybe charge it in the middle if you have a long session.
I mean, I was amazed
yeah.
at how fast they charge. Like,
Yeah,
that's
10-second
super cool.
charging is quite impressive.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think 10 seconds is long. Like if I plug one on a charger, I think it's less. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like how they're all a d6 under the shell, and you can mix and match them, because that way, if you have a set and you're playing Shadowrun, and then you want to play a different system, you don't have to buy new. Like, it's much more sort of eco-friendly and like efficient use of the electronics rather than wasting and duplicating all these circuit boards and things. I really like that.
Yeah. Now, again, there are two products. They have an RPG bundle. It's 6d6, and then all the shells. That's your like full set of RPG dice. That's a little pricey at like 120 before like you apply the coupon. But just the D20 is only like $40, and I think for most games that use D20 as a core thing, that's to me the dice I want to roll per myself.
Yeah, because you can mix normal like Foundry rolls for the other dice like sizes if you want.
If I roll a D20 plus, I think I don't have a D8 configured. No, maybe I do have a D8 configured. Do I have... So I don't have a D10 configured, so I just need to roll the D20, and then it does the rest automatically. So we made sure to account for people not owning all the dice or having them configured, because I don't think many people have every dice. But yeah, we just got to pitch them, Andrew, a Crucible set, 3D8 with the Crucible theming.
And for those in chat asking about it, we've been designing this framework to provide a sort of baseline level of support that we can use for different Bluetooth peripherals in the future as well. So like we're trying to create a sort of generalizable integration where an external dice can easily plug into this. And so if there's other brands of external dice that some of you may or may not be waiting on, we're hoping to use a similar framework to be able to support those options as well. But one of the great things about Go Dice is it's available and it's working, and so it's a cool option that you can use, if not today, in the very near future once the app gets approved.
All right, it is a little slow to roll Shadowrun's 20d6.
All right. Thank you very much, Cody. This is super, super cool. Well done. Who would like to draw the next straw of presentation?
I can go next.
Excellent.
But I feel a
Eber,
bit bad, Ludwig.
Eber, would you like me to join your Foundry world, or do you want to share your screen?
No, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Wait a second. So I hope that shows up well. So, well, I chose. It was actually suggested by Cody. I should take a look at combat turn markers. There are fairly many, or there have been many combat turn marker modules out there. I don't think there are that many left. I think it's just Monk's Little Details and Combat Booster now, but there were more than that in the past. And well, I didn't get much time on polishing the turn markers and such. So let me get combat started with these three. It's already there. So let me roll initiative and begin combat. And there we have it. A beautiful white square. And yeah, that's it at the moment. I didn't have time to and probably don't have the skill to draw beautiful turn markers, but I'm sure someone will come up with something better than a white square.
You were too slow to get Drew on your side for Free Project Friday.
Yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
I'm
it's
glad you're
just
willing to pick this up, though.
yeah, I working on it. I discovered some bugs, and that's those are going to be fixed next release. And yeah, I wanted to make most of the render flags, and so for the first thing, I felt like this kind of thing was easier to implement as a module. You would just hook refresh token and all these other things, and you would have your one sprite, and you would just update it as all these hooks fire. But I didn't want to put all these kind of things in the combat class, and so now every time the combat updates, every token of all combatants in the combat will get the refreshed combat render flag set and can react to combat updates, and so this could be extended to other things as well.
Nice.
And yeah, let me just move the combat along.
Are you rendering it as like an interface group element, but with like token masking, or?
The turn markers are in the grid layer, just below the borders. I think it was asked in Discord a couple of times how to get auras, token auras, and some other templates. I don't remember what the exact modules were, to render below the tokens, but are to be unaffected by lighting. So let me just increase the darkness level, right? The turn marker is unaffected, but still below the tokens. Yeah, and each so the tokens are responsible for their turn marker. Theoretically, you only need one turn marker that you could just move, but with how the render flags work, each token has to have their own turn marker, because there's no way to assign it to the next one. So, or maybe we need some render flags on the token layer, and the token layer should be responsible for assigning the turn marker to the token that's
Yeah, there's interesting
acting
possibilities,
right now.
because certainly like the default combat tracker in Foundry has the assumption that there's just a singleton active combatant. Like there's only one combatant whose turn it is right now, but that might not necessarily be true for all game systems. There could be game systems where, you know, you have grouped combat or something where like at a certain state in the combat tracker, it's multiple tokens turns. And so, you know, we could make some assumptions about that, but there also needs to be enough flexibility in the API that it's possible for like more than one token to have the turn marker.
True. So there's another thing that I added. That was a feature. I don't think there's a module for this, but in my own experience, when making decisions in combat, the decision can depend on the turn order. And so let's have a look here. If you see me hovering over the tokens, you see numbers, and these numbers, 0. So that's the token that's currently is acting, right? And 1. So this is the next one, and the next one after that. So, and if you highlight all, you can see all the turn numbers. So let me just add a bunch more. Let's roll them. So you can see you get an idea what the order is. And so what I find myself in my games often doing, so imagine I am Randall and there's Morthos, and well, Morthos doesn't like the Durigar, right? The Durigar is about to bash Morthos' head in. So what can I do as Randall to help my friend? So if I know the Morthos acts before the Durigar, maybe it makes sense to knock the Durigar prone to give him disadvantage on the give them Durigar disadvantage on his attack if Morthos moves away without disengaging. So this is all 5e, but I'm sure most viewers are familiar. And then Morthos can take the chance at disadvantage to move away and still has their action to do something, right? And isn't forced to waste their turn disengaging. But imagine it's the other way around. The Durigar goes first. It doesn't make sense to knock him prone because he will immediately stand up again and take his turn, right? So in this case, the Durigar would go first. I wouldn't knock him prone. I would just attack him and deal damage, or maybe I have some other ability to protect Morthos when the Durigar takes its turn and attacks Morthos or something like that. So the turn order matters, and it's hard to figure it out. Normally, it's not a secret, right? But you would have to hover over the token and then look in the turn tracker and see where the Durigar is, and then you would have to figure it out. Does this Durigar go first or my friend? And it's just wasting a lot of time on a turn. And
I don't think Randall needs to worry though, because we've just found out that Morthos is secretly a Balrog.
Yeah, and the other scenarios, right? If it's not like my sorcerer friend that's in danger, and I have I have Krusk here, and maybe if Krusk is not in the combat thing, let's roll this. So let's see. Well, imagine I'm. It doesn't work in this situation, but.
I can see a lot of times.
If you want to
when
knock
it's
the
important.
Durigar prone to give Krusk advantage on his attacks, right? The Krusk has to act before the Durigar, right? So otherwise the Durigar just stands up again and then it's wasted, right? And you or you want to take the help action or something, right? It's turn order matters, but
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a nice idea to see all these kind of numbers, and you can make quickly a decision rather than figuring out what's going on here in the sidebar.
Very cool stuff. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. We'll have to play around with this during the V12 cycle and see if we can make this into a core feature. And then we'll let the community decide if they're satisfied with just the white square or whether they want something else.
I don't know. Chat seems to like it.
Yeah. Awesome. Really, really very cool stuff, Aber. Anything else that you'd like to show before we move on to the next one?
No, that's it. There's no configuration yet or anything like that for the different.
Okay, fantastic. You've got a couple of diehard white square supporters in the chat. So.
I would like to clarify, since I see it in chat, just because we're showing something off here, unless otherwise stated, like Go Dice, doesn't mean we might never add this to core. Don't go retiring your module just because we have a white square. It might not be ever going. It might not go in for a year. These are just ideas and explorations for the most part.
We had some things go in as features in V11 that were Free Project Friday ideas from a year ago, almost probably at this point. What were some of the things in V11 that started as FPF? Door sounds?
There were a lot.
Didn't Matt have some tooltip stuff?
Tool clips.
Tool clips. I did I showed the proximity walls in a Free Project Friday, the windows.
The Ferncomb itself was Ferncomb's been like 3 different free project Fridays
Yep.
over like 6 months, and it only just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kim has lots of cool role parsing stuff that's been in the Free Project Friday oven for a while now. But it's a big, complicated project, so it's going to take a while more, I think.
Are we seeing more of that
Yeah.
today, Kim, or something
Turn
else?
sounds as well.
Sorry, what was that, Andrew?
Yeah, I said, are we seeing some of that today, or something else?
I tried to get the Peggy stuff based on Shark's work, but it's not there yet.
Okay.
I put some more time in it today, but I didn't get to the point where they were evaluating yet. So it's
Okay,
just the
all right, no
passing.
worries.
Did we do pings in V10 or V11? I was like
Pings were
V10.
V10.
Pings of V10, yeah.
I think we're locked tooltips V10 or V11, because that was another Kim project, I think.
Locked tooltips, I think, were V11. The locked
Yeah,
ones.
yeah.
Tooltips were V10, but
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah,
ability to
yeah.
lock them was V11. Yeah, that's another one. Kim or Matt? I guess Kim, you just said. Matt, do you have anything you want to show? Otherwise, I'll pop mine up.
I don't. I was all video last week.
Okay.
I have stuff to show, but it's not the role passing.
Oh, okay. Kim, you do have some. Do you want to flip a coin? Do you want to go first or second?
I don't want to follow whatever you've got to show.
Mine's not that cool. Mine's not that cool. But okay, you can go first then. That's fine.
Okay.
Do you want me to connect to a world of yours or just screen share?
I share screen for this. I don't know if it's working because it's in full screen. Is this? Is that working? Yeah, that looks like it's working.
Yes, I've got it.
Okay.
Oh, what cute little animation.
Yeah.
I love their little
we'll,
idol.
We'll be looking at these a little bit. So I have a few things to demo that are mostly unrelated. I've been working on a little game in my free time with my girlfriend, and we got the custom cursors working, and it made such a huge difference that I thought maybe if we put them in Foundry, it'll be a similar situation to like what we have with the door sounds, where it's just one of those small things that really made a huge difference. So you can see that I've got a custom cursor. I hope you can see that I've got a custom cursor.
Yeah, I can.
It's got the
I
depressed
thought you
states.
said, at first I could have sworn you said custom cursing. And I was like, what is custom cursing?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's really pretty.
Yeah, and it was like it's just it feels less like you're in a web browser and
Yeah.
clicking on things now. It really did make a huge difference, and it's really easy to do. You just need the drag. We've got a custom little drag hand.
Nice.
You only need like 4 different pictures. It'd be really easy to build a robust little framework for systems to choose their own custom cursors when you load into the game. You can see it works. Got a little depression states.
I
as well.
love
It's
the little
really
like curling thing, like clicky clicky.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's custom cursors.
I
And
want it right now.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, same.
it's really nice. It's really nice. It was like the same situation as door sounds. When I saw it, I was just like, this is just really great.
When the arrow changes like color slightly, is that because you're clicking? Like what?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. That's me depressing the mouse. Oh, and you can see I've got like a little sword for hostile. There's a sword cursor for hostile tokens. So because Pixie has some cursor integration, so there's like a little bit of marrying between the actual browser cursor versus the Pixie cursor. And the other thing, this is, like I said, so we have these sprites from the game, and I just wondered, because the game's also in Pixie, I just wondered if I could port them into Foundry, and like you can. So I got the
Oh, awesome.
This is something that I really don't think we need in Foundry at all, but I wanted to see if I could do it.
Let's not be too hasty, though.
And you can see there's a little flicker. That's because these are video textures, and the texture is being changed when I change direction. So this is why when I saw Ludovic's, I was like, oh, I could really have done with that. But yeah, and it gets progressively worse. I'm not sure why, but that's not something that I think we probably need. That was
certainly can be solved probably by preloading or some other technique. You know, once you get those textures cached, you could switch them really seamlessly.
I think Ludovic said he loads them in a worker thread, so that might help us. And so the other thing you've all seen before, so I'm just going to show it now though, which is the those of you who've been watching the D&D 5e pull request very closely may have seen seen some reference to it. So this field here, you can see we've got these formula fields. This one looks a little bit different, and that's because it's actually a prose mirror editor. I've converted it into prose mirror editor, and what it does is it passes the role for you, the role expressions, and marks them up in like a rich text way. And there's also autocomplete. Autocomplete is not a particularly new feature. I know there are modules that do like autocomplete for things like this. But what Prose Mirror allows us to do is just make these rich and interactable. So you can see that I can like click this and change it to a minus sign, or I can click this and mark it as advantage. And you know, I can still edit it like a normal formula.
That's super nice.
Yeah, I can just
cool.
You know, change all of these. And it supports most things, like supports formulas. You can see it's got like matching braces. It supports dice pools. Yeah, so all of these things it can handle reasonably well. There's a little bit of work to do, like it deletes whole chunks at a time, which is maybe what you want sometimes, probably not what you want all times. But I've been working on it for a little while with the intention of just trying to make it a little bit less daunting if you're completely new to Foundry and completely new to TTs in general. The use case I was thinking of is if I handed Foundry to my mother and had her try to run some games. I think this little part of Foundry is just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not hard when you know it, but just looking at something like this and not having any context at all, I think is a little bit difficult. So if you can kind of keep the power of what we currently have, but wrap it in something that's a little bit more interactable and user-friendly, then I think we have something. Could have something particularly useful, and it's made possible with Prose Mirror. So that's one of the things we spend a lot of time on. You're probably used to seeing it in the journal editors, but now that we have the Prose Mirror API, you can actually do it for all sorts of little. Like there's like a 4-node schema or something that powers this, and it allows you to wrap it in all sorts of interesting HTML. Yeah, that's the formula editor.
Insanely good, Kim. This is really, really cool stuff. And without overcommitting or promising ourselves to too much, I think I'm okay saying that we're going to work on some dice rolling related things in V12. Like you've been looking at Peggy. That may or may not happen, but you've been looking at it. We're certainly going to look at it closely. Things like supporting a core, dice formula editor, looking at integrating Cody's work on unfulfilled roles to become part of core. I think there's just a lot of like sort of related themes there. We have to finish the async roles migration so that evaluation is now only async. So there's like a couple of things that are all like dice rolling related that I think that's going to become a little, not like the full focus of V12, but that's going to become a focus of V12, I think, to get some of that stuff done. So it should be a great way to tie some of these threads together and hopefully, add some of this functionality into core.
Yeah.
I love the cursor too. I mean, so do folks in chat. I think
right.
we gotta explore that. That's a really exciting option.
Yeah, this one's certainly a lot easier than Peggy passing for sure.
All
But
right.
that's me done.
Awesome.
Thank
I will take over then. I think I'm the last one. Let me switch this. I'm going to switch this scene back over here. I still have Ludovic's giant guys over here. I need to go back to... I need to switch back away from Nath's light mode code. Just a moment. Okay, that should do it. Unless I misunderstood, Nath, I think Matt said he's just been working on the video. So is that correct, Matt? Or did I misunderstand? That's correct.
No, you did not misunderstand.
Yeah. Okay.
Video and being sick took me out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt.
Okay, so I worked on something this morning that came out of the Crucible First Look stream yesterday. So there were a lot of questions during the Crucible stream about engagement and flanking and automation. And I said on the stream yesterday that didn't have any of that built yet, but I was able to work on it this morning for FPF. So I have some stuff to show. I took the map from the stream yesterday and I just added some like pillars and little like wooden obstacles here to the map. So these are all configured with walls. The pillars are like terrain walls, and then these little like wooden palisades are just invisible little like movement blocking walls, but they don't block light or sight. Okay, so suppose we've got over here in this quadrant of the arena, we've got a bunch of these like hobgoblins, and suppose our sort of tank character kind of wanders over and just like walks into the middle of them. As he walks into the middle, he's going to acquire this flanked condition, and the nature of the flanked condition auto updates each time depending on the extent of flanking that is applied. So a quick refresher about like what Crucible's rules are on this is that you have an engagement score, which defines how many adjacent enemies you're able to engage at a certain time, and then the amount to which you are flanked is the number of adjacent opponents in excess of your engagement threshold. So this character, if you just have one engagement and there's 3 enemies here that are in base to base, then this character has flanked 2. And what that would mean is that when these characters attack, they would get 2 boons to their attacks against the character. And the computation for flanking is kind of bilateral. It works in both directions. So, if you're walking into combat or if an enemy, sort of moves away, you notice that like their flanking condition decremented down to flanked 1 as soon as this enemy moved away out of combat. So whenever anyone moves around, it's going to just sort of change the flanked condition. And it also works for token creation and deletion. So if you like bring in more tokens to combat and I sort of surround this guy, he just keeps getting more and more flanked as I paste those tokens in, or as I delete the tokens, then that flanked counter is kind of counting back down. Now, one of the cool things about this, and the reason I added all these obstacles, is because it's not just a sort of naive computation about like adjacent squares, it's actually terrain sensitive. So let me pull up some debugging real quick here. And this is kind of the technically more interesting bit of the demo. Oh, did I just break the stream for people's faces? Oh, they're back. Okay, cool. So here is an example of what I'm doing with a little visualization debugging. So the blue square is the engagement bounds for the token. So it's all of the adjacent squares to this character. And then what I'm doing to compute flanking and engagement is we actually compute a move polygon for the token's new position that is bounded as a boundary shape with the engagement square. So as I approach these like terrain obstacles, you can see that there's certain squares where is actually like in the token's engagement, and there's certain squares that aren't. So just like line of sight and vision, the flanking and engagement is sensitive to terrain and obstacles. So suppose like there's a hobgoblin fighter here, and I'm here, and oh, another thing that the little visualization is doing is putting these like red dots on an enemy that counts as engaged. So even though there's two enemies here, I'm not suffering from any flanking because this other enemy is on the other side of the obstacle. But if he comes around, then suddenly, you know, my character is flanked once again. So by using the move computation, the move type polygon, it is able to condition the computation of flanking only for you know, things where you have a direct movable path between you and the enemy. Yeah, so that's about all there is to it.
It's pretty slick.
One of the things that
in chat about working on gridless. So I guess if you're on a gridless system, you draw just like a circle, right? And then around like a 5-foot circle, and then it will also be blocked by walls and work.
I'm
fine.
hoping to support, like for Crucible specifically, I'm hoping to support options for either square or hex grid, although there are some different mechanical considerations for hex than square, especially like the rules can apply a little bit differently. Like there's a potential of, you know, 7 flanked positions on a square grid with 6 on a hex grid. But I'm not sure about gridless, at least not for this particular system. But, you know, if someone was developing a gridless system, you don't have to have a square grid to do this. You can still have some assumption about like what your engagement radius is. It could be a circle, it could be a square, it could be a hexagon, it can be any geometric shape. You could compute the shape of those bounds and then use that shape to bound a polygon computation. That same approach can be done to do things like create a spell effect, like a blast effect that is constrained by walls that block movement. So if like there's a wall that's solid enough to block movement, you can have a fireball blast that allows for like cover where, you know, if this wall were blocking the fireball, then someone behind it wouldn't be hit by the template. There's all kinds of applications for this. The code for it is really easy when you're creating a point source polygon. Generally using clockwise sweep, you can pass a custom boundary shape into that polygon, which becomes a constraint applied to that polygon. And so I'm just passing in a square as the geometric constraint when computing the movement polygon. And so it's a quite easy thing to do. And it's something that there's lots of use cases for this for different systems and modules that might want to do something similar. I really like
Does it scale up with tokens? Like if the token were larger?
Not yet. I didn't have time to get to that before the demo today, but in theory it will. I'll show you how it breaks right now. It breaks right now if you look at this like large size ogre, because it is incorrectly computing the engagement square. It like the correct engagement square needs to be like this, but that's just a matter of me like fixing my code a little bit, and then if I have the correct engagement square for the larger base size ogre, then this will all work the same there too.
Nice. And I saw someone ask about reach. Is that also something you plan to account for?
Yeah, so reach.
If someone actually can like
reach does exist in this system, but it affects your capability to perform an attack. It does not affect your engagement radius. So even if you have a reach weapon, your engagement box is still defined based on adjacent squares. So you could, reach over your engagement with your long, pole arm, but that doesn't actually enlarge your engagement radius.
Okay, it doesn't affect your actual flanking state.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
But it makes a lot of interesting, tactical. I'll remove this debugging thing. I'll just clear that out. Actually, probably it's best if I just F5. But it creates some cool sort of tactical interactions where, like, say this guy is coming to his ally's aid. There is, depending on the rules of the system, like a difference in rules in terms of whether you want to move here to be like directly opposite the enemy, or whether you'd be better off being like here or here. Because if you move here, then it creates this kind of chain reaction of flanking. Like, yes, this guy's flanked, but you're also flanked. Whereas, strategically, if you're here or here, you can be more like forming sort of a shield wall with your ally where you're flanking the enemy, but you are not yourself flanked. And so it creates some more tactical interactions in terms of, where you want to be positioned relative to your allies and relative to enemies, in order to maximize your boons, your advantages, while minimizing boons that others have against you. So yeah, that's my demo. I didn't have this ready to go yesterday for the Crucible stream, but it seemed like a good thing to work on this morning for FPF.
Yeah, works really well.
It really does.
Very good.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's all of them. So let me switch back to full screen on the on our cameras.
We did it.
We did it. We did a thing.
Does bounded point source polygons mean that we have geometric lights?
Yeah, you can.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't have it like configurable in the UI because there's no interface to allow you to create them. But in terms of programmatically, you could absolutely create a light source that has a star or a polygon or a sort of arbitrary geometric shape.
Oh, must have missed that because it's something that people have been asking about for a while.
It's not so useful in saying like, oh, we've solved the user need on this until we offer some sort of like user facing configuration to define that yourself. But in terms of the ability to create a bounded polygon, I guess if there's a little bit of curiosity on that, I can show real quick what it looks like.
I seem to remember it coming up in dev streams a lot, that's all.
Let me just
Yeah, we just need somebody to make the pointy light module now.
Yeah. Pointy lights.
let me just put let's see, I need a
There's
window.
the light mask module that makes use of this.
Ooh.
Kwok.
I was about to say that's got to be you or K-Walk.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit awkward to set up. You need to
Are you guys
place
able to
balls, and
see?
then
I
you
think
can
the
snapshot
stream-
the shape, and then I don't know, maybe that was at least how it worked
You do like a drawing.
months ago.
So basically, just quickly for stream's benefit, in case anyone's wondering how to do this, basically what I'm doing is whenever the token updates or is created or is deleted, I'm just updating the flanking data for the token. The key part of that is computing which tokens are engaged, and so that part that I was looking at talking to you about in terms of the polygon, it has sort of two parts. One is generating this polygon, which looks like this. So basically I start by computing the bounding shape. Now in my example it was a square, but as we were talking about, it could be like a polygon, it could be a circle, it could be a sort of arbitrary bounding shape. You compute the bounding shape first, and then you pass that in as a boundary shape to the polygon that you create. And in this case, I want it to be a polygon that's of the move type, because I want this polygon to be blocked by like physical barriers. But you could have, if what you're trying to do is, it's a flash of light or it's a burst of sound, you would want to work with the light type or the sound type of the polygon. But for things like a projectile like blast radius of a fireball or of a, detecting engagement, in this case, a move type polygon is the right one, and then pass those bounds in to constrain, the resulting polygon. And then once I have that resulting polygon, here's another little code tip for people who might not be so familiar with this part of the API. Things like I need to quickly get all of the tokens that are inside this computed polygon. This is a common type of problem, and we have good high performance solutions for doing that. And so the way that works is once you have this move polygon, we can use the token quad tree first by passing in the rectangular bounds, and then by refining matches against the rectangular bounds with a more specific collision test. And so my more specific collision test is basically like matching only enemies. So one of the things you might have noticed from the demo is like I don't get flanked by my own ally, I'm only getting flanked by enemies. So checking like the disposition of the tokens, and then also checking the move polygon that I generated for containment of of the token center. So like refining this is my shape of the blast to like, okay, which tokens got hit by this explosion. This is really easy to do by getting objects from the quad tree. So that's another, I guess, sort of free tip for folks.
Yeah, everybody take a screenshot. This is, I think, the first publicly viewable Crucible code so far. I don't know if you showed any more during the stream yesterday.
No, not code, no. Just looking to see if there's any questions in chat, but I don't think so.
No. Sharks casting a ritual.
Okay. Custom wall restriction types. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I opened the issue about that, and then you added a check in there, and the hacked. You could have hacked it in by adding properties on the document type.
I was being very unfriendly about it.
I shouldn't have opened an issue about that.
Yeah. Well, I think that that is it. Anyone have anything else they'd like to show or talk about while we're all gathered here for FPF? Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up.
As always, some really cool stuff.
Yeah, really exciting stuff
Really cool
to show. I loved all of the demos today. It was really great to see everyone's engagement with that. We will, at some point, get this stream and others that have happened over the last weeks uploaded to YouTube so that they're available for posterity. And yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and take us out. But thank you all very much for joining us for Free Project Friday. We don't normally make this a public thing because there is just a little bit more pressure on the team to like make sure that everything's refined to the point of being an externally facing demo, and usually our internal ones are a little bit more slapped together. But hopefully you've seen how this is a really cool activity that we do as a team, and that it generates a lot of neat ideas that gets us excited and ultimately leads to features that can show up in the Foundry virtual tabletop software. So it's something that we always look forward to doing every month. And hopefully for those of you in chat, you also look forward to eventually seeing the fruits of those labors when some of those features end up in core. So anyways, thank you very much for joining. It's been great having you all here. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Hope you have it filled with friends and family and gaming if you're playing games. Hope those go great. And we will catch you next time. Until then, cheers, happy gaming, farewell.
Thanks,
Later,
everyone.
folks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.